record. Welcome, everybody. I am glad that we are here. It is our Wednesday. It is the start of our Super Bowl weekend. It's all downhill from here. It is officially hump day. And most sweetly and sadly, it is our season's finale. So, before we dive in, before we sweep our attention back to what's happening in these characters' lives, or if we swing back to the center of chaos that they are slowly weaving around themselves, and by slowly I mean as quickly as they are able to without getting physical. Are there any questions, suggestions, hypotheses, or corners we need to round off?
I have a question.
Excellent. What are the questions?
What does monstrous rat blood taste like?
Oh, knowing
Delicious.
Lucio, he will find out post-haste. There are two things that he'll probably need, and I'm not sure if he has. The eat food merit and the
Armor.
to tolerate the blood. Yes, but there's a
I didn't know it.
yes.
As it so happens, Lucio has both.
This will be a grotesque moment of such sweet delicacy. He will never have a moment such as this. Well, maybe. Hopefully for him, he will never have a moment such as this. This is a delicacy that you should try at least once in your undead existence, and perhaps never again, unless, of course, that floats your boat. We don't, as Miriam is fond to tell us, we don't yuck anyone else's yum. However, it is definitely an acquired taste. Let's see if Lucio acquires it. Now,
So we know where we're starting.
yes, indeed. And during the preamble, while we ramp up to full speed and dive in, Lucio, if you would be so kind as to go ahead and roll your strength and potent so we can have that sitting there before us to help with just how evocative his action in exterminating the pest in and around his immediate vicinity are.
You said strength and potence?
Oh yes, he used his arms, remember?
I thought, okay. I think I was using Tenebrous Avatar.
Oh, that's even better. Yes. So yes, strength plus potence. And you get the opportunity of adding your dots of obfuscate for this particular moment. And without there being any further questions, most importantly, and above all else, I want you all to know that I thank you for your energies, your efforts, your attentions, and all the time that we've shared getting here. It has been 18 seasons. 18 season finales, some more bittersweet than others, some actually vainglorious in their ending. And others, well, you gotta take the good with the bad. And we take what good we can from these characters' lives. They've been through the ringer and back again. In nearly every iteration of this coterie, they have danced on the edge of complete and total failure and managed to pull some kernels of good out of it. They've escaped blood hunts. They've vanquished lupines. They've stood down an actual army unit's worth of thin bloods coming for their head. They have vanquished elders and ancilla. They have danced with powers infernal and come out the other side mostly themselves. This is the coterie of impossibilities. They have been made aware of various skullduggeries and intrigues and outright coups aimed at the heart of their community, and they've managed to survive them all. They wouldn't be able to do that without you all, and I wouldn't be able to witness it without you all. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And without further delay, without further ado, until we don't, this is officially Soup City Sins Season 18 finale. The secret of starting on the first one. And when we last left our coterie, all things were at their heightened pitch. Hestia staring down the avatars of the long arm of the law. Lolly staring down the hand of fate, reaching through the shadows to pull you all into the typhoon of its ardent attentions. Miriam doing their absolute best to forestall the easily noticed potential doom in the offing. And Lucio, having found the haven, not quite as secure as he would have liked. Gleaming red eyes showing far too much intelligence in the rodents near at hand. And doing what he feels is best, the only option available to him, extermination, reaching into the bowels of all that is the opposite of life, the other end of the spectrum, the heart of darkness at the center of every multiverse. He summons it forth, becoming it, and lashing out. The shadow and chill of the haven becoming weapons, sundering these small bits of life, or unlife as the case actually is, from this existence, from this coil. In the doing, one of the many things that most never really realize about the haven is because of the efforts of the previous security-minded members of the coterie, there are traps. There are places to fall, places where things fall on you, places that end up leaving you trapped with and unable to leave. In sundering these mass of rodents, this small swarm of rodents from this existence, at 5 damage, the floor is all but non-existent beneath him. At 5 points of supernatural damage, the splatter and squelch of the rodents are deafened and dulled by the sound of wood, concrete, pipe, and various other materials sundering from their moorings and falling in. There is a wafting cloud of debris and dust and animal parts that rises up once all of this mass lands exactly behind where the actual main office is. Luckily, with the way that the office is built and whether the shelter is aligned within the building, there's nothing immediately visible to those in the office, in the commissary, or in the hall between the two. But the sound, the crack and thunder, the devastation is all but impossible to hear, because as the debris hits rock bottom, as the rats squelch and some squeal, the vibrations, the base of the impact is impossible to not notice. The floors rumble as if there was a localized earthquake. The dust and debris that goes flying into that space behind the office, behind the walls where everyone knows is the end of the shelter, batters against it. There's a concussive whoomp that hits the wall that causes the floor to rattle and rumble. In that bit of chaos, in that bit of visceral reaction to the powers of the other side coming into this world via Lucio's manipulation of them, starting with Lucio and going anti-alphabetical back to Lucio. What is it that everyone's doing as the world temporarily seems to have moved to California and the tectonic plates shifted into each other?
Okay, so Ooh, first of all, oops. Second, were there any survivors?
Yes, and they're trying to take off. They're trying to find a way out. Like rats, they're trying to escape the ship that's sinking, or in this case imploding upon itself.
Lucio is going to go after them and try to drain all of their blood.
Excellent. In that case, that's going to be, when we get around to it, that's going to be a dexterity and athletics DC 3 to keep up with them, to catch them, to feed on them. He will have to no longer be the shadow beast that he is.
It's fine. Then he will end the power to go after them. You said dexterity and athletics?
Yes, because they're taking off. They're attempting to utilize everything that is them, being able to squeeze down to the size of a quarter or a dime and move through places where other things can't. They're scampering and skittering, calling out to each other, because despite what everyone thinks, rats are the most like humans in regards to how they interact with one another, which means in danger, they seek out their loved ones first and foremost. In moments of high stress, they need touch, and they will take flight to their most safe spaces, bringing their loved ones or seeking out their loved ones. And that's what's happened with these four last remnants of this portion of the colony, as they seek escape, as they try to find their way away and towards safety and their loved ones. And Lolly, as the world crashes down, as a bit of the vision becomes true, a bit of the world imploding and things going downhill fast, things moving south as quickly as they can, what is it that most is pressing?
Despite herself, she will bite her lip and place her hand on the wall and tap into her auspex to try to get some sort of insight into what has happened or what is about to happen.
Oh, really now? Medusa, kind of go ahead and roll your... she doesn't really care whether she acts out or not, so it's literally being able to hold on to the bull long enough to get that 8 seconds. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your resolve plus auspex? Your DC in this regard is 3. The visions you need to plot your way through the world are all around you. They come hard, heavy, and fast. It takes skill to surf them and understand just how powerful the water that is around you is. It takes a willingness to be destroyed by the knowledge that persists there. That willingness is not easily learned. That daring is not something that's easily run towards. And as Miriam disappears away from the desk and you rise to touch the wall to figure out what's going on, rising up out of the darkness over your head is the penultimate definition of what a Nosferatu looks like. A melding of the popular idea of what a Nosferatu was as a knockoff Dracula. You see the long, twisting, gnarled fingers with claws extending far longer than the entirety of that being's hands. The bright eyes that shine with a malevolent glint. The dark coat that seems to make it all the more unreal, because it barely hides the razor whip-thin form of that being. As it towers over you, you realize that it's wearing a priest's collar. As it towers over you, you realize that this Nosferatu, this monstrous kindred, is in fact a hunter of kindred. But no, not the hunter in the typical sense with kindred. He's not seeking your heart's blood. He is not seeking a way to bolster himself. He is seeking a way to root you out completely and totally, to destroy everything that you are and everything that you might ever be. But not just you, the entirety of all kindred. You realize that this monstrous Nosferatu, this monstrous kindred, sees you as the blue-eyed man hiding in the dark. This monstrous kindred sees you as the source of all of the evil that is taking place in the Windy City. The secret puppeteer behind it all, and it is looking everywhere for you. Either for you or for your blood, and he has found a source of it, he believes, and he has every intentions of rooting you out. As a matter of fact, he's here now. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your 1/3 humanity and unspent willpower, because it is without a shadow of a doubt that your beast and your vision are combining and conflating until you realize that this thing is here now. Your life is at risk. Your existence is at risk now. So, Lolly.
She will try to absorb all that and be rife with inaction, as often happens to her.
Understandable. When you get the opportunity, go ahead, roll 1/3 of your humanity and your unspent willpower, because this monster of old, of new, is coming for you and is close enough to touch you. And while that's happening, Astra, the womb, the base of whatever that was destroyed, the crash of stone, concrete, and metal, the clear attenuation of those present to what's happening, the fact that you are aware that there's a plainclothes officer just out those doors in the commissary eating as all of that is happening. You, with these two officers, will push come to shove. There's a portion of your mind that lets you know, yeah, you can make sure they don't leave here. Ever. But the third one, out there in the public, is another matter entirely. What is it that you're doing? What is it that you're thinking? Because it is clear that they are rising to their feet to, well, it's anyone's guess at this point.
Shit. She hears that, and in the back of her head, there's a tiny version of herself screaming at the top of her lungs. But in the meantime, she tries to catch their gaze and throw a compel at them.
Which one?
She's curious about the older one. Yeah, we're gonna go for him.
Independent mute is a thing. Sorry about that. So, as I was saying before my mute so readily interrupted, to be so kind, just go ahead and roll. It will be a contested roll between you and he, and we will get to the bottom of this, or at least this portion of the bottom of this. And as far as your compelling, because you didn't have that system, and it is charisma plus dominate, and his resistance is going to be intelligence plus resolve. And just for the record, as you are catching their eye is a lot easier against mortals than against kindred. So what is it that you're saying or speaking into being for him to do? What simple command are you issuing him?
I just gotta make this good. Ignore that.
Okay. Not bad overall. Okay. And one quick second.
And I did look at unless they are another kindred or considered, I guess, a kindred, that's when I roll. But then if they are unsuspecting, it almost always succeeds.
Yes. As Miriam found earlier when attempting to snag Kamal's mind, as several instances in the world have evidenced, there are those with hardier reserves than others. And not for the first time, but for the first time in a very long time, Hestia bumps up against resistance. For the first time in a very long time, Hestia meets a mind that either has been experienced in being assaulted, is made of something that has experienced a slew of traumas and horrors and is naturally reserved and guarded, or Hestia has just revealed herself to be something more, to something that is something more. The choice between which is easily nearly impossible to find out in the moment, because the young, active, ardent wolf, the ardent sheepdog that is his partner, is on his feet. The younger partner, the more active partner, is rising. What was that? It is clear that the only thing keeping him from drawing his weapon is that there's nothing clearly visible that he can shoot. It is clear that the only thing keeping him from throttling something is that there's nothing that was the cause of that softened explosion. And it is clear that while the partner may be someone who has grown accustomed to the horrors of the world, this youthful detective has not, and seeks to run towards the danger instead of figure out what that danger is. The lack of information is something that eats away at his veneer of calm, his veneer of civility, all of the planned antagonism fading away in a rush of literally wondering what the fuck is going on. While outside in the hall, Miriam, there is a promise that many Christians hold as threat and bat against their God. It's that there won't be water when the world is destroyed again. There will be fire. There won't be any more flooding. It will be an explosion of a fiery conflagration. It will be epic in regards to everything that is immolated. It's hard hearing and feeling the explosion of something, the outward shunting of something into something else with such force that you can feel it through your feet, rising up through your knees, that you can hear the grinding crush of stone and something else slightly metallic. What is it that you do?
Miriam will pause and sigh for a moment. Because it came from upstairs. So there's only a handful of things that could have made that noise. And then she will straighten herself back up, knock gently on the door, and enter.
Wait, she knocks on the office door? She never knocks on the office door. That would let everybody know something's wrong.
Well, there are also 2 police officers in there, so she figures it would be polite to tap first so that, she doesn't get shot. Policemen are jumpy.
Well, she's been shot before. It's fine. It's fine.
Right.
Knocking
She didn't like it, though.
Fair enough. Knocking on the door and gently moving it open is still a little too fast for the officer who's standing on his feet, his eyes bugged out, and it's clear that there's an immediate wash of adrenaline, he needs something to do it against, and some reason to not do it to anyone near enough at hand. There's the jumpiness that comes from being at the scene of dramas, and various other dangers to the human mind. And he's on his feet and he's looking for a source, a reason, anything, an opportunity. And Hestia standing there, meeting the gaze of the older officer. Is there anything you would like to say, anything you'd like to do in that moment?
Is this a bad time?
And speaking of bad times, Lucia, there's no reason why these rats, these rodents, these pests should be so difficult to catch. It's almost as if they're plotting. It's almost as if they're squeaking and mouse-like roaring to each other to help them escape you, your large feet, your giant danger. That's what you are to them. You are the 5th horseman of the apocalypse. You are hell come to earth. And while you don't speak their dialect of rat, you don't speak South Holland Ratonese, it's hard not ciphering out some of what's being communicated, because they are in fact very, very vocal. They are squeaking and squelching and again roaring in their own way towards one another's, and they're crisscrossing paths, bounding off walls, rolling out of the way of your grasp.
How dare they? Seeing as Lucio is being outsmarted by rats, he is just going to focus his efforts on getting one of them rather than getting all of them.
That changes things. While your roll was a failure by 1, It means your next difficulty would go up to 4. You switching your targets to trying to encapsulate just the one of them, just not getting distracted, not getting lured away, not getting countered by 4 minds working against you. Your difficulty drops back down to 3. Would you be so kind just to give it a roll as you once more continue the chase? And it's clear from having lived in the Haven, and it's clear from knowing the approximate floor plan, that they are working their way towards one of the more hidden elevator shafts just outside and walled over in the actual shelter, but still granting egress up and down through the building.
Is it same roll as last time?
Yes.
Okay, and he's targeting the one that pissed him off the most, whichever one that is.
Yes, a large gray-backed rat. There's a big brown star on its left haunch, where clearly in its pup days something damaged it. The hair growing in extraordinarily darker. Its tail, unlike the others, isn't quite as mottled. It's almost a complete slick gray instead of a bright pink, as if it had been sick sometime earlier in its existence. Its eyes, unlike the others, aren't reflecting a deep bright red, but more of a sickly green, as if there is some small issue with their eyes as well. And its left ear looks as if it's been chewed upon.
I have gotten 4.
And you can't have him in your grasp. He bounds and leaps, and just as he was about to turn left, he turns right to keep you from being able to grab the other rat, which is a mottled Palomino-esque color. In fact, if you were to put your finger on it, you'd say that he kicked the other rat to use as a trampoline so that he could not be near it. And you know that it's a male because it immediately begins pissing all over your hands as it squeaks and squelches and attempts to use its claws to tear at your flesh and its teeth to tear through the bone beneath. It is doing everything in its power to escape your grasp.
So now Lucio's pissed. He's going to squeeze it just a little bit in his hand to make it hurt before he bites into it.
You've never witnessed it before. Not that you bothered to pay too much attention to rats to begin with, but as you squeeze down on it, instead of the defeated sagging that you expect from humans, because if you apply pressure to a human, they'll typically retreat. They'll fall in on themselves. Their eyes will bug out, and they'll do anything and everything to prevent the pain from continuing. As you squeeze down on this particular rat, instead of giving up the ghost one last squeeze, it all but roars in your hand, its teeth bared and its claws sinking into your flesh. As you squeeze, it attempts to squeeze with its own claws, and you could tell that it's frowning at you, trying to make eye contact as if it could do anything or issue one last final anything, as if it can drag you into hell with it. And it's struggling and squeezing and fighting back, and there's no way that it can win. There is no way in any possibility or potentiality of it winning its escape. Even if it was able to escape, you are sure that you've crushed at least 2 or 3 of its ribs and maybe punctured its lung. It's a death sentence for it. But even with its last breath, even with its last bit of strength, it continues trying to fight. It continues trying to drag you with it into hell. And you sink fang, biting through the furry, lightly damp, moist pelt of the rat. Now here's a question that you would not expect when consuming rat for breakfast, dinner, maybe just a late night snack. Are you a religious man, Lucio?
You know, I don't really think he is.
Good. Good for him. And the reason why it's good for him is because as he drinks this slurp, this sip, this Capri Sun of blood and the viscera and crunchy bits of muscle and fat from this rat as it coats his tongue, he doesn't notice how closely its blood, its melon sweet blood, tastes of communion wine. He doesn't notice how beneath the all too almost human sweet bits of its blood, between the viscera and matter, the gristle that he's moving his tongue around to get free of all of the blood, sucking the ever loving hell out of every bit and every drop to get the full taste of how crunchy and acidic the blood is. It's like drinking a pulpy orange juice made with limes. It has a hint of honeydew, or I'm not sure if that is that honeydew. Maybe that's a little more cantaloupe. No, definitely a little honeydew. Maybe a little honeydew and cantaloupe. There's a vibrancy there that shouldn't be. There's a something else there that shouldn't be. And then there's the thin run through of that unfermented wine, that manischewitz that's used for communion. Not being extraordinarily religious, the memory of it from his youth, having to go to, Sunday Mass with his mother, doesn't quite bleed through into the moment, but it's there. And some portion of the little teenage Lucio speaks up and mentions things, and he can remember him in the pew with his sisters. Stand up, kneel. Everyone's singing off key, and then here comes the silver platter that's almost a bowl. People making their tithings in nice, neat, folded envelopes, and then everyone lining up in the central aisle leading up to the priest as he swings this incense ball and says a prayer, and then they unfurl the napkin or whatever that kerchief was that's covering the wafers, and he hands one to everyone. Instead of handing it to them like you should when you're passing someone food, he places it on their tongue, and they do so willingly, and he gives them a sip of wine. And there's something, dare say it, especially for that teenage mind, weirdly and all too erotic, watching the ladies of the neighborhood, the older women, kneel before priests, open their mouths and close their eyes. And then the small exchange of a benediction. And they love me with you, and with you too. And he remembers it vaguely and faintly, but it's there. Like a ghost from the past that just rises up out of nothing. And as he consumes this rat, whose final thought he can almost connect with, if I'm going, I'm taking you with me. It's the best that he can approximate it. There's no way that a rat would think that. Everyone knows rats flee the ship. Everyone knows rats are disgusting, vile things that cause the Black Plague. There's no way a rat would be that aware.
Lucio never thought he would actually feel some small amount of respect towards a rat.
And almost in counterpoint to the respect he feels for the one who went out fighting, went out swinging, he can hear the squeaks as they land down the elevator shaft. Those fuckers got away. And again, though he doesn't speak South Holland Ratonese, he doesn't speak or understand anything that they're actually saying. He can almost feel the meaning behind them squeaking towards each other. Because each squeak has a different tone, a tenor. You can almost hear it, a song for the fallen rising up between them as they fade into the night. You can almost hear it, a lamentation for their brave war chief as they escape into the dark. That makes no sense. Rats aren't that intelligent. Rats aren't that communicative. Rats aren't that human-like. Or are they?
Having at least driven them off, which is a small victory, Lucio is going to discard the body of the dead rat in his hand, chucking it down the elevator shaft, which actually, before he does that, that's the abandoned shaft, right? So
Yes.
It doesn't actually... Okay. He's going to chuck it down there then. Whatever blood is on his hand, he will lick it off. And he will try to make himself look presentable, because I'm assuming he might look a little bit worse for wear, before trying to sneak back into the shelter.
All right. And while that's in the offing, Lucio is finding his way down and around, careful to not misstep or fall into one of the still remaining traps on this floor. Lolly, sussing out the exact details and the timing of things is always a problem when the myriad potential truths of the future, the possible future, bombard you. You've had several visions, several moments of knowledge that have been all consuming. There was the time when you realized that the alley on Belmont was closing. Before anyone else knew, you had caught sight of the owner in all of his rat-like visage, setting fire to his product and stock. It took you a month before you realized that it wasn't him actually setting a real fire to the building. No, he was selling off his stock in the company and spreading it across other ownerships up and down Belmont, up and down Clark itself, not right there at the one singular location. He was liquidating his stock and diversifying, only taking a percentage so that he wouldn't be responsible for the merchandise, and no one could point to him as the reason for the counterculturally of the city's youth. At least that's what he said publicly. The truth of the matter is he was tired of working and wanted other people to do it for him. But that took a month of constant bombardment, and you trying to figure out why was he burning things. Fire is bad after all. This is equally problematic because you know that it is going to happen. You know that it is actually happening somehow, somewhere soon, if not now.
For lack of knowing where anyone else might be, she knows that Hestia and Miriam are purportedly in the office, so she will head that direction.
Heading to the office, Miriam's standing in the doorway asking what's going on. The only problem with that is that warmth, that explosion, that danger to the coteries' survival attracted everyone's attention. So people are looking at walls, they're checking fire alarms, and Sergeant Kamal is talking with the head cook, with Amalia. And you know, she hates police. She hates most people on the surface of things. She's brusque, she's to the point, she keeps things as short as possible because she knows that people are flaming fucking idiots. And yet, they are trying to corral people, make sure that everyone's okay. And she's willing to work with Sergeant Kamal in the moment because Donnell is not around. So you imagine, if you will, as you're moving toward the office and you see Miriam in the doorway looking towards the commissary, Amalia with her ever-present cigarette in her lip, Sergeant Kamal, and a half dozen ladies of the night in various states of dress, various styles of dress, but one thing evident, that they are all in the same profession, amidst a sea of faces that you could easily pass outside of the 7-Eleven asking for a couple of cents. If you got any change, or at the train station, hey, you got any bus cards you're not using? Don't tell me you're on the app. I'm just trying to get, or at the gas station, hey, my car ran out of gas. Amidst the sea of people that most people choose to ignore or go out of their way to avoid, there's Sergeant Kamal and Amalia working in tandem to calm everyone down, to do their best to get everyone peacefully ready to flee if necessary, and to not leap to conclusions.
She will grab Miriam if Miriam is not involved with the police.
Only tangentially at this point.
She will speak quietly, but kind of in hissed, excited sort of tones. Say, something's happening. It's not good.
To which the young officer, not hearing anything that's being said, hey, no whispering. What the fuck is going on?
There's a law against whispering.
Fucking ain't right. If you know something's going on, you have to say something. What was that? Are you guys okay? Did something blow up? Did something fall in on itself? What's going on? Hey, stop sitting there like nothing happened. Get your ass up. He's nudging and slapping his partner's shoulder as he's all but drawing down. He's managing to keep from actually slapping leather and clearing his holster, but you can tell that his first response, for his own sense of safety, is to put his hand on his sidearm. By some strange stretch of his sense of self, he is able to keep from doing so, but just barely. And as you're seeing this, hearing this, what is it that you're doing in this moment?
He's a little too riled up, I think, for me to try to compel him. Is mesmerized, so he looks at me. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with. Because I'm trying to get him to calm back down. I don't want him drawing a weapon in my office.
Okay. And that is manipulation plus dominate. And fire away. Oh, and
should I get rid of that one? Oh, that made it worse.
you hit the wrong button, didn't you? You were trying to minimize, right?
Yeah.
So you hit the wrong button, so let's go ahead and pretend that didn't happen. Alright, try again.
Which one do I hit?
You would hit the strange little fanged unk all the way to the far right, the red one. There is a portion when connecting to anything's mind that says that it is child's play. That it is your right to do. And in a lot of ways, and the fact is, because the history is written by the victors. And to the victor go the spoils. There are certain minds that are hardened against such things. The top of the list, as far as you are aware, are kindred. There are certain minds that are instinctually guarded. The young officer, the young detective, is in no way such a being. However, in the lack of calm, in the strained, tense maelstrom of him literally being on the edge of near hysteria, there is a haze and a dizzying swirl of energy and neurons firing, keeping you from connecting with all of that lovely, soft, malleable tissue beneath. He's not even holding eye contact long enough to get anything through. He's taking in the physical signs and moving on, checking off danger and moving back and checking off dangers and trying to get his partner up and moving because he can't understand why his partner is so calm. This is a localized tower falling situation. The dam is broken. Something is horribly wrong, and his partner is looking dazed and confused. And instead of it being a calming thing for him, it is ratcheting up his flight instinct. He's breathing heavy up in his chest. You can see all of the pressure of his air leaving and entering. You can see his muscles straining. You know by scent what it's like when there's just a waterfall of adrenaline being pumped into the air. He needs something to hurt. He needs something to escape from being hurt by. He needs something to do, because a crash after that much adrenaline release, you are sure would, well, make Rip Van Winkle seem as if he only took a cat nap. And Lucio, what's your how many dice do you have in stealth?
2 dots in stealth and 3 in dexterity, if it's relevant.
Okay. No, it's just gonna be your passive, just you moving, because you were trying to blend in with what's going on and get your way back into the building. So anyone with an awareness of 2 or higher would see you coming easily. Anyone without awareness or higher would not. For those not quite passively aware as that, he'd just simply appear over Lolly's shoulder.
Lucio's not going to say anything. He's just going to try and blend into the background as much as possible until needed.
No,
He's caused enough problems today.
It is clear that something is needed, because that detective inside the room, inside the office, is a hair's breadth away from drawing down on not just Hestia, but everyone. That's the last person you want with their hand on a firearm. Someone who's jumping and doesn't know what's going on, and no one's giving him any answers, and it is rolling downhill into a puddle of lava, and he's made of the finest, most handcrafted snow to have freshly fallen. The older partner, the older detective, is sitting as if he's just having a lovely spot of tea. Alright, calm down. What are you doing? Relax. Why are you just fucking sitting there? Didn't you hear that? Hear what?
I don't know what's going on or why you're so upset, but your partner is obviously calm and sitting there, and you're a little too wound up for me. Should I be concerned? Do I need to get legal counsel that you're in my office? I don't. You're scaring me. I'm worried for my safety.
What the fuck? You. And as his face goes apoplectic, his face immediately reddens, all of the adrenaline driving the blood directly into his face, the anger being an outcropping, a secondary emotion becoming the primary emotion, actually angry instead of the purposeful poking to get a response. And then you hear come out. Alright, everybody stay calm. Whatever that was, we'll figure it out. You all get away from the windows. Move to a substantial structure inside the building. And Amalia echoing much the same benefit, although she's a little older, so for her, she's actually saying, if you feel afraid, just get underneath a table, put your knees up to your chest, and just breathe as deeply as you can. And they're guiding the residents in the commissary to their most safe locations. Sergeant Kamau is moving through the commissary, moving towards the front door to let everyone know, to get everyone to a safe position, and to find out what's going on. While that's happening, it is impossible for Hester to not be struck, because she knows Amalia hates police. Of all things, she despises the police. Her past history, her many brush and run-ins with the law has left a distaste for anyone who wears a badge in her life. The fact that she's willing to team up with him or work with him or not toss off some scathing bon mot lets you know how afraid, because of the noise and of what that might mean, she is. It is a sign that, yeah, something bad happened. Something very, very bad. They're not sure what had happened. And while that's happening, well, you're the only one that knows. You're the only one knows that there's a dark creature of the night who is religious and has focused their attention on bringing down the shelter because of them knowing some person with a bright blue eye.
She will look at Hestia and kind of do the head jerk thing of we gotta go.
Seeing that she's in emotions towards the angry cop, like, well, what are we supposed to do with him?
Excuse me, Officer Roid Rage.
why the fuck are you guys all so calm? Do you realize something could... And he's trying to get his partner up, but his partner literally doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about, and is not going to back just some foolish play. He's seen too many good officers wash their careers down the drain, jump into the wrong conclusion, and he knows that in a stressful situation, that they must be the pillars of calm, though that he doesn't know that there's such a thing as a stressful situation. He hears the jackass in the hallway. Who the fuck is that? Talking about how they calm, moving. Look, calm down. I don't know why you're all worked up, but you need to.
She will, as she gets his attention, she will lock eyes with him and use mesmerize. Tell him we just need to calm down. Whatever it is, I'm sure it'll be fine. You big, strong officers of the law are here to protect and help everyone to safety if needed.
Alright, fire away. Lolly is a definition of scattered. Their attention is all over the map. They are able to perceive things that others can't even begin to fathom. Yet the one thing that they know of themselves, and they know of the blood, is that mortals, living, breathing, bipedal animals that the humans are, stand no way of resisting the full pressures of a kindred who decides to move, manipulate, and otherwise adjust their minds. There are some who are a little hardier than others, but you doubt that someone as young as this particular detective could be hardened by stress, trauma, or a lifetime. The fact that when you reach into their mind, reach inside their skull, leap through their eyes, the swirling, ravenous buzzing of fear, acting as a blazing shield around all of that sweet, gooey, nougaty goodness that is their soft, squishable minds, is an annoyance. There are some people who are not cut out for the job they do. Some people who are easily triggered and removed from a sense of calm understanding of themselves and the world around them. This is such an individual. His anxiety only ratcheting up because everyone is so very calm when there was clearly something huge and potentially destructive in the offing. He is literally a step and a half, or an eye blink and a half, from dragging his partner to his feet and escaping from this place, at least somewhere out in the open where they can figure out what the fuck is going on. An action, at best, a moment, at least. But his panic and anger has risen to the level of definitive action.
No, you're still gonna freak out. Level-headed would serve you best.
Level-headed, what the fuck? And his voice raising with the wealth of anger that's actually in him. His paranoia and his fear all but taking hold of him. It is as close as you will ever come to watching a human frenzy.
Remember your training, officer.
Why shouldn't be with so many officers, so many kindred present? Is there anything anyone is attempting? And while we think on that, it is 36 after the hour. Let's be back at 46 after the hour. Let's have a quick chat. I have to see a man about things. Welcome, folks. Everybody back?
Yes.
That was weird.
What, you getting an echo?
I think we might have heard some of that video.
We were listening to Rambo.
Yes. I like David Morrell's writing. Too bad he didn't do enough novels. But all the same, welcome. So, in a similar moment of dealing with trauma and stress, there are typically for kindred one of three things that happen in various degrees: fight, flight, or a combination of the two. Fight to flight, which is the best way to approximate hunger, the need to consume, the need to take into yourself in the safe and gain safety through, for lack of a better word, emotional eating. Those same outcomes, those same three pillars of stress response are very much humanity based. The need to escape, the need to fight, or the need to find succor and comfort. Unfortunately for the officer who was here to confront what they believed to be a murderer, there's nowhere safe in this moment. They thought they had this in the bag. And then the world turned sideways. It literally moved beneath his feet. And worse yet, unlike the three murderers, the three killers that he's dealt with before, there's no real reason in the moment to draw down. He's at a loss. He's at the end of his rope, and his guiding star, his tower of light in the darkness, is acting as if nothing is wrong. His partner, his pillar, his training officer, and pseudo father figure is literally still pursuing the tactics that they had outlined as to get the confession. Remaining calm, allowing him to pick a fight, allowing him to stir a response, allowing him to be the outwardly emotional catalyst for what follows. As far as his partner is concerned, this is all proceeding according to plan, because his partner doesn't know why he's up in arms. So one action, one act of doing something, one decision sits there for each of the coterie members, and moving anti-alphabetical. What is that one action?
I guess that's me. We don't have the Sophia anymore. Wait. It's fine. It's all fine. So Miriam is going to do what she does best and put herself in danger. And walk over, not to the frightened gentleman, but she's going to attempt to calm him down. It's like, detective, let's take a moment. Let's try something. Can we try an experiment?
Okay. And while that's happening, while Miriam is closing the distance and attempting to draw attention towards herself and wave the red flag in front of the angry bull's face, what is it that Lucio is doing?
Lucio, seeing that Miriam is going to try and handle the big guy, he is going to be on the lookout for anyone else coming their way, trying to direct them away from the room because he doesn't want anyone getting caught up in the crossfire if Miriam's attempt doesn't succeed and the officer just starts unloading bullets.
Okay, so Lucio is moving to intercept Elijah, who is moving from the commissary down the hall to try to make sure that everyone's okay and also figure out what all of that previously was. And while that's happening, Lolly, realizing what frenetic state the officer is in and what may be in the unfolding, what is their one action?
She is going to try to break contact, backing around the door jamb or something, and hide herself.
Okay. So she's following Lucio out while Lucio is turning towards Sergeant Kamau. She's moving so that she's not in a direct line of sight of anyone in the office, or just break line of sight with as many people as possible.
Enough people to hide herself.
And as everyone is beginning to move, and Miriam's moving towards the officer, Lucio is moving out of the office towards the sergeant who was there earlier, and Lolly is doing their absolute best to disappear from sight. What is Hestia doing? The one, the only, the inimitable Hestia. What is she doing?
I have no clue. I'm trying to figure that one out. It's a hard one. There's a tiny voice in the back of my head that says just take him out. But too many witnesses.
You should always listen to that voice. It always has your best intention.
No, too many witnesses. Miriam's trying to calm him down, so I'm not going to say anything to him and undo what Miriam's doing. Like, I literally have no clue what to do. Hold on. Yeah, hide like Lolly. Go under the desk. She is going to say to both Miriam and knowing the cop's going to overhear her. Maybe if it'll make him feel better, he can check the perimeter and report back.
Okay, that being the case, we have several roads ahead of us. Diva throwing her lot in with Miriam attempting to distract and also assist. Miriam gained a +1 to their roll, and Miriam will be rolling a charisma and either persuasion or leadership to reach across the divide and force a semblance of calm and get them paying attention to something outside of the stress building in their own chests. And while that is happening, while it is taking place, Lolly will be rolling a manipulation and stealth with a success of 3 or more, allowing them to get out of every immediate line of sight to initiate whatever it is they might be initiating to hide. Lucio moving to his childhood friend, one of the many taken in by the family Darcy and shown that there is another way, that sometimes good for good's sake is enough. It'll leave you broken and battered and barely making ends meet, but you will be a better person and the world around you will be the better for it. That is a simple being, as you're just intercepting him. You're not trying to pull the wool over his eyes. You're just trying to keep him busy. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll either your charisma and persuasion, or if you're just doing it bodily and being a good old pal, a good old chum, a charisma and athletics as you guide him further away from the office, all but bodily, that camaraderie, arm around the shoulder and smile and questioning what's going on and keeping him otherwise distracted physically.
What was my difficulty again?
3, standard difficulty. There's been a lot in the offing, a lot of big noises, a lot of people distracted, so it's not impossible, but it is definitely something that would require a little more effort because people are curious, they're wondering what's going on. What was all of that? You may want to willpower that.
My options were charisma and persuasion, or charisma and athletics, you said?
Yeah. Charisma and athletic being the jocular arm around the shoulder and all the physically keeping him distracted.
Yeah, let's go with that route. The beast, heed my call.
Well, I'm glad it worked for someone.
What doth fate have in store for you? Luckily for you all, he is not quite a experienced detective. He is, hence the reason also for his fear response. And standard detective receives a 4-die pool. Everyone knows that the best defense is a good offense. What most people don't understand or can't really fathom out, especially in moments of stress, is what is a good offense, what is the overwhelming offense, and what is literally burning the bridge that you are upon. Many people consider the same tactics that would initiate a fight to be good offense, but that's not the case. That's not how it starts, it's how it ends. While the start is evocative of how it shall progress, the true measure of a thing is how it ends, and understanding what that actually means. The end of things doesn't mean the end of all things. Just because your world is ending doesn't mean that the planet Earth won't be here. Just because your life is in shambles doesn't mean that the society around you has crumbled. And just because things have ended doesn't mean that they can't begin again. However, for some, perception very much is reality. All that they see, all that they understand, with all that matters. It's a little solipsistic, but it is the way of the world just as much as altruism is. And as Miriam, in her tattooed glory, in her pale beauty, crosses the distance, her steps slow and measured, as Hestia, her own impressive power of charisma being channeled as distraction. He freezes, the fear tremulating up and down his limbs, the need to rest his hand on his firearm, his sidearm, no longer being fought off. And while he turns so that his left is facing Miriam, his right, where his sidearm is holstered, pointing more towards Hestia, as he rests his right hand on the butt of his gun. There's something about Miriam's calm in the midst of all of this that reaches across the distance to him. And while the twitch muscles are fully activated and wound tight enough that the least plucking of the strings in his being will cause them to snap into place, the gun doesn't clear the holster. His partner quietly rises, stealthily just at the edge of his periphery, arms held up, palms facing forward, closes as Miriam gets his attention just as the spring reaches maximum tautness. And he rests his hand on his partner's wrist, and his left wraps around his shoulder, and he leans in, and whatever he's saying is just enough to add the oomph to Miriam's efforts to keep him from laying down shots and turning this into something that it should not have been. His partner is angry, and his voice is measured. His partner is calm as only someone who's faced down trauma after trauma after trauma could be. It's the sort of calm that in most humans is eerie. It's the sort of calm that has the neighbors oftentimes reporting afterward, but he was such a quiet man. He didn't mess with anybody. He was always kept to himself. You hardly ever saw him. It's the calm in a situation like this that later is often touted out as something memorable. Because living beings are semi-solid bags of liquid. They are not calm. They give over to their emotions. They give over to their impulses. They give over to being ruled by those ghosts of things inside them. And then the younger detective looks from Miriam to his partner. And you can tell that there's some straining there between the two. There is some display of power. And the older detective looks at Miriam. But it's clear that he's talking to the entire room. I think that we came at a wrong time. I think that it's probably better if we stop back by tomorrow morning. Don't nobody leave town. I've always wanted to say that. We'll see you guys tomorrow. And he begins guiding his partner out. It is clear that whatever he said to chastise his young detective pulled him up by his short and curlies, had him sit up and take notice, had him not fight through the conflicting feelings and the need to, but to channel it towards attacking him, his own self, his own sense of understanding, his worthiness to wear the badge. And as the older detective guides his partner out past everybody, he nods to Kamal nods back, And he shakes his head as he guides his partner out, still not relinquishing his hold on his partner's wrist, but the grip on his shoulder has gotten lighter, almost as if the scolding is over and all that's left is to deal with the shame of having needed to be scolded. And as Kamal and Lucio alight by the front desk as the detectives walk completely out of the building, Kamal frowns, looks to Lucio, looks to them. I don't even want to know. Brother, whatever you all did, whatever you said to them, I don't want to know. I did what I could and made my suggestions, but it's too late for that now. I do want to know what all that noise was about and what it was that fell, because something big happened, and I'd hate for them to use their pull to get the building inspectors involved.
I'd like to know what happened myself.
It was a blue-eyed monster.
What?
What?
Yeah, what? What was that all about? You said a blue-eyed monster. Just I don't know what you want, but
I did?
yeah, you did.
Are you sure?
I take witness statements for a living. Yes, I am sure.
That's weird.
Exactly that. Look, brother, I'm gonna take your word on the girls, but I'm gonna swing by and see your folks, because I ain't seen them in a while. You figure out whatever this is and do whatever it takes to not have them come back, because if it hits my desk again, I'm not sure what all I could pull to make this as easy as possible.
Yeah, I'll see what I can do on my end. Thank you. Sorry about all the headaches we've been causing you.
Yeah, at least you all got ibuprofen. Most people have Tylenol, and that don't work as good.
Have you tried taking both?
What that's gonna do?
Work better?
Covers all your bases.
Miriam will smile. If you have a frequent history of migraines, you should speak to your physician.
Yeah, but that's how you get a psych file, asking for pain relief. Y'all take whatever care y'all can, because it is getting very, very, very unfriendly out there. I'm gonna get out y'all here. Tell your cook that was good. I'll take a quick tour around the building, make sure that nothing's falling out onto the street. But y'all take care of whatever that is. That did not sound good. And then he grabs Lucio's hand. More than offering his, is more of an actual full-fledged. He just reaches across, takes Lucio's hand into his, and gives him a one-armed hug as he turns to leave the building.
Lucio will accept and also do the one-arm hug. As is their traditional goodbye.
The night has been, for a peaceful one, fairly tense and eventful. There have been the movement of forces against the coterie. There have been the movement of forces for the coterie, and all but a declaration of war. Because at the end of the day, out of all of the traditions, out of all of the rules of Kindred Society, the number one rule is don't get caught. And whoever it was that unleashed the horde and warren of rodents has effectively been caught. There's no way that the survivors, if they're not picked off along the way back to wherever they came from, would not be able to relate what happened to their warband leader, would not be able to relate They're routing. And only an idiot would think that that's not them being discovered. And whoever is controlling the rodents clearly is no idiot. Because instead of sending people, drones, kindred, they sent rodents to take out the guards, the unliving guards around the shelter. Whispers, feral, ghoul, cat. The last line of defense when it came to the living, creepy crawlies making their way in. Of course, only Lucio knows this.
They are at this point alone, correct?
Yes. Darnell has taken Selma wherever he needs to take her. Molly is getting everybody back calm. The cops have left the building. So your front desk.
And Lucio will relay his encounter with the evil rats of the shelter.
It's some Nosferatu.
I'm not going to question how you know that, but that does make sense.
What I'm hearing is you broke my building while the cops were here.
They're very religious.
Who, the cops?
Maybe them too, I don't know.
The rats?
Why would rats be religious? They have some sort of rat god? Like they have little rat churches and rat sermons?
Well, they tasted pretty religious.
Ooh, why are you eating rats?
Still have any of these rats?
They escaped down an elevator shaft. I only was able to catch one, and I was too hungry to keep it alive.
It's like eating moldy potato chips.
Tess looks at Lucio and then looks at Lolly. Said religious Nosferatu. I'm guessing, right? Is that what I'm getting?
Like sour cream and vomit.
Okay, I will accept no more slander. That rat was tasty.
Yeah.
I will have you know. You should try it sometime.
Did Lucio pick up Bloodhound, by the way?
Did what?
Did Lucio pick up Bloodhound, by the way?
He did not, but if it's possible in the future, he might.
Okay, that being the case, would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your intelligence plus occult, DC 2.
Whatever it is, it's got blue eyes. Or maybe that's a metaphor. I don't know. What would blue eyes be a metaphor for? Not jealousy, that's green.
Saying it aloud often triggers one domino following into the next. And Lucio said out loud that the rat was tasty. The tastiest blood or vitae that he has ever consumed has been that of kindred. Not just any kindred, but powerful kindred. Kindred that have been around for 5 to 10 decades. The blood of kindred that have somehow managed to increase the thickness of their vitae. That has been, while it's missing that spark of the human soul, it is melon sweet and disgustingly tasty.
You know, now that I think about it, the taste might have actually been kindred vitae. They might have been Gould rats.
Because the Nosferatu.
Yep, it's all coming together.
Point.
What does it want?
Okay. What Nosferatus do we know that like to dress up as priests, Lucio?
Out of character, I think I know who it is, but in character, would Lucio have any idea? Because I don't think he's encountered that particular Nosferatu before.
He has not encountered many Nosferatu. There's Juanica, there's Whispers, there's Martin, there's Ads. Those are the 4 that he's encountered. He didn't pull the short straw and have to deliver the invitations for the Empyrean party to them. Martin does reside or is easily reached via a church. Ads, some would say that his club where the Bahari met were a sort of a religion. Whispers is, well, in the basement of a former movie theater turned concert venue. So maybe that's a church to entertainment. Not quite the same church as Ads, but similar enough. And Juanica is, well, a soldier. His church is the battlefield. His church is in following the orders of his higher-ups, his commanding officers. His church is waging war.
In that case, Lucio is going to answer, I have not met any Nosferatu who dress religiously.
Hey, Lucio, can you show me where these rats were at?
I can show you where that place used to exist, sure.
Right.
What do you mean used to?
Right.
The floor kind of collapsed.
Why did you do that?
Because Lucio has a thing against walls.
And floors.
I mean, a floor, I guess, is kind of a wall if you're like fall down.
She'll give Lucio kind of a side eye when she says that.
I've apologized. If you want, I will go to the effort of making some art myself to replace it. But I did what I did because there was something there and it had to get removed.
Oh, art. Do you have paint?
Yes?
All right, I need paint. I can figure this out.
Give me a minute. The hole, Lucio? She will gesture for him to lead the way.
Lucio will lead the way.
I have a really bad feeling that if I open the door into the Haven right now, there's going to be a cloud of rubble.
There is. There is.
She looks at them too before they can leave, walks over to the door to the Haven proper, and then opens it and motions there. That is what you're looking for. Which also means we are going to have to go the long way around if we have to go into the Haven. because our front door has been squashed.
Who did you piss off?
You know, I wonder that myself often. Probably God, if I had to guess. But
That would explain why he sent a religious Nosferatu after you. It all makes sense now. We probably don't need paint.
There's a cost of doing business. And one of those many costs is when you come to the attention of others, when you receive a measure of success, when you become in any way influential, even if you never use your influence for ill, even if you never use your influence at all, the perceived prestige of having a higher rank in anything makes you a target. The fact that the shelter as an institution has all but laughed in the face of the city government on a multiplicity of instances, acting as undercover saboteurs to bring down the rank and esteem of the hounds, being the only survivors of note of the professor, i.e. Critias's school of education, being the only coterie with a domain that has an automatic hands off from the tower. You have a domain wherein there is a nest of Hakata that are hands off. So if push came to shove, all you'd have to do is go to them. Oh, right. This coterie has already done that. Has already managed to find a way to tie the hands of the city government so that they were able to escape a blood hunt. Blood hunts aren't often called, and rarely called officially. The fact they had an official blood hunt, meaning there was no safe space for them in any Camarilla city, and they were able to laugh it off. There's no way that anyone who listens to even just half of the rumors surrounding the shelter would not believe that they are the power to either beat or align with. And those of you with the politics of two or better would instantaneously understand that. Not only understand that, wonder how you could use it to your benefit, truly to your benefit. And as those thoughts of the calm, easy to understand jungle that is the kindred civilization, the kindred communities, central hub of political machinations, Miriam crouches and squeaks and begins ululating in a voice that is not so far removed from human that it's impossible to not imagine that she has suddenly sprouted Mickey Mouse Disneyland ears from her head. As rat after rat, those in the area begin popping their noses out, scenting the air. Some deciding that no, fuck that, there's actual predators, there's actual dead things over there. Others daring to come near. And they're black and brown and shades of gray. All told, there's roughly 16 or so rats squeaking and drawing close enough to behold and take you all in. One is clearly a smaller middle range rat of them all, walks right up to Miriam. The curiosity clear on its face. At least for Miriam. For others, there's just literally a palm-sized rat, tail and all, which bounds over one bit of rubble, circles around another, doubles back, makes sure that it's enough room between it and everything else, and stands up on its rear haunches, its face a frown of curiosity as it noses the air around Miriam, its whiskers bobbing up and down, vibrating.
We will smile because she hasn't ever actually attempted to do this before, and it worked. And she will put her hand down, letting it hop on if it wants to. And if it does, she'll put it up on her shoulder. And she will just chitter with it, asking if it has seen big, scary rats.
Huh. Okay. Well, in that case, would you be so kind to go ahead and roll your charisma plus animal kin? As you try to remember the words that you never were really taught, but it's like a language that you were born with, that you spoke without realizing you were speaking a separate language. As you chitter and squeak and pip and a little snarl here and a head bop there, a twitching of your fingers to add the correct connotation to the verb. And while all this is happening, those of you who went along with Miriam, those of you who are in the area, you're watching Miriam lose her ever-loving mind. She's pipping and squeaking and bobbing her head and moving her hips as if she has a tail and twitching her fingers, and it is as if she's lost her ever-loving mind. There's no way to not see that as her having a small attack of some mental failing.
Lucio raises an eyebrow at this.
Lolly will reach out to poke her, but not actually poke her, and then whisper to the others, I think we broke her.
In the grand scheme of things, you are able to conjugate certain words properly, and others, you don't miss by a mile, but you come close. But the gist comes across, well, the idea of big rats, and it takes a second for bobbing swish cat chaser to understand what you're trying to say. And as bobbing looks at you and tries to intuit what you're trying to say, several exchanges back and forth as you try to get it just right, or try to get it the words to reach across. A little stuttering, a little stammering in your presentation, and your accent is a little off. You don't quite roll the R's well enough as far as it goes. Sometimes you're lacking a certain amount of roticity to your pronunciation, and not quite enough head bobbing. Got to work on your twitch, but all the same, bobbing manages to communicate. Stop. Name. And as it squeaks and moves around in a circle and twitches its tail up and down, you finally get that it's asking your name. It's the difference of someone speaking barely passable Spanglish and someone who is able to recite Shakespeare in Castilian Spanish, attempting to communicate with each other.
I will tell him, sure, the Mad Tatter, because She barely uses it these days.
And as the exchange is going back and forth, Matt, and it gets an okay, and you can hear several squeaking laughs from the shadows as the others who haven't drawn close enough to engage are catching a joke that was implied or stated, but because of the difference in vernacular and the difference in understanding and use of their language, it is lost in translation. And of course is the answer. New clan war soon.
Miriam will try to communicate the idea of a Nosferatu. And ask if that idea is their
The word doesn't have a translation.
right.
It's just ugly one. Ugly
Right.
dead thing.
Yeah,
And you hear one of them wailing in pain. The squeak that comes out from over your shoulder amidst the rubble behind you all going into the actual shelter itself is one that is, well, racking and sobbing. And then you can hear the pitter-patter and click-clack of several nails upon the concrete around you as the other 14 draw close to the initial cry of pain. And Bobbing looks at you and looks towards that and pretty much holds up one small claw, and I'll be with you in a second, and takes off, bounding between your legs towards where that initial squeak, pain, and cry came from. For everybody else, it was just a pip of a rat somewhere in a distance. You guys have heard those before throughout the years. It's hard to not have heard that sound living in the city. It's usually the sound of a rat in a trap or being cornered by a cat. You don't think
Miriam will follow as best as she can to the area.
there is a mangled cat corpse. You know that it's a cat because it's too big for a rat, and the ears, even though mangled though they are, they're still visible through some of the crushed rubble. There is a tattered bit of fur, and it's clear that this cat was utterly destroyed when the floor came in around it. But because of the destruction, you can't tell whether it died because of the destruction or was it already deceased before that happened. But the rats colony is mourning the loss of their savior, their secret weapon, their hero, their guardian, their warden. And you hear something about they were just, yes, that's just, they were strong, yes, so very strong. And it's like a litany, a prayer that they have somehow practiced and memorized, something passed down through their genetic line. Eat now? No eat now.
Miriam will take a moment to translate all of this.
It's Whisper's cat. They had a Gould cat that used to patrol the building, and Whispers also had rats of his own, and they worked together. And I guess these new rats that were from this new guy attacked these rats. It's ridiculousness.
Okay. So apparently there's a war going on.
Yep, right between you guys' nose. Right underneath your nose. There's a force moving in. And Lolly, what were you saying?
I'd say Lolly, who's probably never seen anyone talk to animals before, will assume that none of this is actually happening, and she will go look at something else.
Oh yeah, it's happening. There's some things that are unavoidably too real because they're so farcical. And at the end of the day, that's what this is. The idea that there was a colony, a warden of rats fighting a ghoul cat, the fact that there's other rats working with said ghoul cats, that's the stuff of twisted Disney fairy tales. What in the world? And the fact that Miriam is holding a conversation with them, like it's bad enough you've seen people on the street making kissy faces to their little rat-sized dogs. That, mommy loves you, daddy loves you. It's that's weird enough, but now Miriam's holding intellectual discourse. This world really is going to the cats and dogs.
Yep, having one of my episodes have to focus on something else till it goes away.
And as Lolly excuses themselves by simply just walking further away from the wreck ruin, almost as if there is some invisible path or clue that they're being drawn towards. What is everyone else doing? What is everyone else sussing out or attempting to suss out? Or are you guys just here to offer moral support?
Miriam will suggest that since their cat protector has died, perhaps they would like some food.
Oh, food. Colony needs to eat. Yes.
Hess, realizing all this is going on, realizes that they also need to figure out a way to clear the rubble and fix this entrance to the haven back. She's not quite sure how that's going to happen with the fact that nobody's supposed to know.
Sounds like a Lucio job.
This whole situation. And then she's also realizing she needs to go check on Amalia and the others, even though they were kind of calming down, just to make sure that everything kind of really did settle down out there. And maybe like stick her head back out the entrance and listen for a minute, see if it's calmed down, and then shut it back.
Even or odd?
Odds.
Roll 1d10 for me. The secret door creaks open. The entranceway into the coteries haven. It's secure space, safe and sound away from everyone's notice. The office is fairly always empty, typically because Donnell is always out on the floor, having to run quickly into the office and back to the floor. So it's easier, for the most part, to know where he is in the building. Except for when you don't. Except for in situations like this. After getting Selma safely hid in the parking garage in one of the vans where she could take a nap. He said he'd come back and get her in about 25 minutes. He made his way back in, finding the police car is gone, finding Molly and the girls up an arm, having heard something take place. He's in the office looking for the number to call the foundation or to call Hess because he can't find his cell phone. It was in the office, and then the door behind the cabinet. The door is not supposed to be there. The cabinet moves, a creaking sound because of the weight of the rubble on the other side. He pauses, quietly waiting. When he's seeing things, that can't be the case. And then Hesh's head pops out. Then it turns, looking towards the doorway, its ears attenuated in that way where people cock their head to hear better. And it's only as she opens her eyes and looks that she realizes that Donnell is standing there to be exact, the farthest left drawer open where he normally keeps his cell phone, as well as where he normally returns the keys for the van, sitting open. His face reflecting the very image of confusion, especially as there's still the drifting, wafting, low to the ground dust and dirt from the debris having fallen in it. His mouth open and ajar. He just stares silently.
Hey, I think whatever that was opened up a doorway. I was just checking it out. But I'll get it looked at.
He nods his head up and down as he slowly comes back to himself. Don't worry about it. I'll have Javier look at it tomorrow. We need to get the girls out of here. The police have left, but you know they never leave us alone too long. They'll be back soon. So I need to get the girls back to their neck of the woods, and I need to get Selma home. Would you or one of the others be able to help take one van one way and I'll take the other way? So we need to get us back here as quickly as possible. Whether I don't know what happened with Sebastian, but with him down and with Selma needing to lay low, that leaves us. Just us.
Yeah, sure. I guess I could. Which would be better, Selma or the girls? I guess. I don't know where Selma lives, so I guess I can leave that to you, and I'll drop the girls off.
Yeah, that works. Did you get a hold of Javier? I can't find my cell phone. I cannot find my cell phone.
No, but I can call him. Where did you leave it?
I picked up the girls and I thought I left it here.
Esther's going to take out her phone and call his cell phone.
The lack of sound is immediately troubling. Not because of it means that the phone is lost, even though that's exactly what it means. It's temporarily unknown. What the problem is Donnell has the numbers for everyone. His phone It's not until right now, in this most paranoid of mental moments, with the shock of him in the office, with the shock of having survived what you all just survived, an incursion from the police behind, under the cat list of them attempting to solve a murder, them having an aim and a goal in mind. The tactics that they used against you were designed to get a response. Your anger, your what were they really trying to? You'll figure that out later. But his phone is a security risk. His missing phone has the numbers for everyone. If you're not mistaken, he still has the numbers for Alex, Simone, Julius, Cameron. He's the operating manager, and they were all volunteers officially. While they were your close friends, as far as anyone was concerned, they were also volunteers here at the shelter, with Simone having a position on the board, as it were, a co-leader. His phone out there in the world, unaccounted for.
I hate to do this, and I hate to say this, but I think we're going to have to brick your phone right the hell now, because somebody has it that shouldn't have it. I will replace it, and we will get you a new one, but that phone has too much information on it for somebody to have it that isn't you.
It's just a phone. I'll find it. I promise I'll find it.
No, you don't understand. The cops were in the office. Now your phone is missing.
Well, they can't look. They can't open it. It's locked. It's fine. Like, even if they do have it, if I can't find it, I'll locate my phone, and we'll find my phone.
Then let's do that now, because I swear to you, even if the cops don't have it, I don't know, like, what if one of the other clients or whatever, there's ways to unlock it. I know you know there's ways to unlock it. They can get the information off it. That has every volunteer we've ever had, and you know, some of the volunteers we've had are not the type of people that need to be in police attention. Like, the person you just hid, her information is in your phone. I'm pretty sure of that.
Yeah, but I use an alias. No one will be able to figure it out.
Can't trust that information won't get out. So let's see if we can locate your phone. And if we can't, you are going to brick it, right?
Yeah, of course. I got you, Hess. I got you. So are you taking the girls or are you taking Selma?
I'm taking the girls, but I would prefer that we do this before I leave.
Okay, fine, sure. And he heads out of the office, heading to the tech library where you all keep your tablets and desktops for use by the clients. And as he leaves out, and Lolly, having been drawn along by her nose like she's a cartoon figure, inhaling pie for the first time, finds herself near a pile of rubble, staring down at it, looking at it. There's something that was here. There's a feeling in her mind that she is standing before a king's scepter. Is there something royal, someone's important detail, some facet of an office, a station of office, something connected with the crown, a shadow-laden crown. The question as to what to do about that is most pressing. It's just rubble. It's just a dark, isolated corner that no one should really be typically frequenting. But there's the feeling that you are in the presence of a station of office, a segment, a sector, a ring of some sort. Okay, we're experiencing some small technical difficulties, so we're just going to slide right along. Lucio, with the devastation that's happened, the survivable, with Hesha standing in the doorway, the secret hidden out of the way doorway, talking to Donnell, you know his voice anywhere. With the police on high pursuit of the shelter or someone there. Clearly they're aiming at the shelter for whatever has befallen the murder victim that they're investigating. And with Miriam standing talking to rats, what exactly is on Lucio's mind?
Ooh, right now he's trying to focus on the present situation and the threats that are immediately affecting them. Namely, that there is apparently a Nosferatu that Lolly says was in the building, or at least close enough to it to be a threat to them right now. So he's trying to think of where they could possibly be hiding, wondering if the rats trying to escape to the elevator shaft might have had some greater significance than he realized. Basically trying to piece together whatever he can in his mind to figure out what exactly is going on and what he can do to prevent something terrible from happening.
Okay. What's plus investigation? DC 3. And while that's happening, while that's in the offing, Miriam,
Yes.
Hash is in the secret, hidden, not supposedly known doorway talking with Donnell. The rats are saying that there's a war coming and they've lost one of their best weapons, the big, strong, dead cat. And Lolly is precipitously close to where you found the phone.
I will get back to the phone thing, but once the rats are done with their little vigil thing, I will be like, stay there, I'm going to get you some food. And she will go get a plate of food from Amalia and bring it back to them.
So you step past Hesha out into the office, move through the office
Yep.
to the commissary.
Yep.
Getting food isn't difficult. It's the fact that you move past Hesha as they're stepping out of the hidden space out into the office to move with Donnell towards wherever they're heading off to, towards the tech office to use the Find His Phone app. So that's an easily accomplishable task. That's an easily accomplishable goal. The problem being, no one's supposed to know that door is there except for the coder. You haven't been part of the coterie as long as Lucio or Hestia, but the fact that your cover, the shelter, knows that that door is there, sits about as well as a 1,000-pound weight on your shoulders.
The poor brain messed with enough.
Coming back with the food, it's clear that the smell of it is enough to let them know that you are a person of your word. You've been marked down as a friend and potential ally to the colony if they survive this war that's coming. While in the tech office, as Donnell loads up the app, the fact that it pings immediately to the police precinct there on Ashland, just south of Thorndale, makes Hestia's blood run cold. It's there at the police station right now. It's only a 6-minute drive if you obey the speed limit. They've been gone 15, 20, 35. They've been gone a while. And the phone is there now.
See where it is, don't you? We have to has to get bricked. They don't already have the information off it. It has to get bricked, and now.
I don't know how to brick an iPhone. And they shouldn't be able to get in. There have been lawsuits about breaking into people's phones.
That's not gonna matter if they get the information off it. They're gonna tie us up in legalities and run circles around us until it doesn't matter anymore. The Hess knows there's like some sort of directions as to how to make the phone unuseful. Anybody who might steal it or lock it down, right?
She's broken every phone she's had. That would seem outside of her pale. She's even broken phones that Dizzy's had. Hasn't been a technological tool that she's used to do so. She's literally just snapped.
Can't you look up like some directions somewhere to figure out how to make it so that they can't get in it? You know, you're saying you locked it with you. Oh my god. This is ridiculousness. Fucked. Oh, I wonder if Miriam got lawyer on the way. See what you can do, though. I know you're worried about the other girl, but we need to keep them from getting anything off the phone. They probably already halfway to breaking into it, so shit. We wish we had somebody that knew how to do this kind of crap. she's looking at Donna like, well, don't just stand there and look at me like... We need to fix this. It's your phone.
Yeah, it is. It is my phone. Everything's coded. Everything's as encrypted as it can be. And I think I'd rather take care of a victory I know I can win. It's not like I have super spy skills like Jason Bourne. I can go in there and whoop everybody's ass and take my phone and make them erase whatever they found. Not like I can send a lawyer there to take my phone back, because how do I know they have it except for using to find my phone? Which means my phone was lost to me to begin with. They found it. I could have put it in there lost and found. Not like I have superpowers to turn invisible and go in there and get my phone back. So I can't do anything about that. And there's no way to remotely brick an iPhone. I can pull my data off. Kinda. I don't know my password to my Apple ID password to have it erased, but it's not gonna erase anything.
This is why Android.
So yeah, I'm gonna go take Selma home. I'm gonna do my best to help those who are here now. And if it's a problem that the police want, we'll deal with that eventually. I do the best I can. I can't worry about things that are not here. People who are already dead. I'm not gonna let the living suffer. To those who are dead in body, who don't spend time with me, who don't put their efforts in the way that I do. I'm gonna love them from a distance, and whatever happens to them, happens to them. Because people don't live forever. There's no promise tomorrow. He rests a hand on your shoulder. He's like, I wish that was one of the lessons Dad could have taught you before he died. And he walks out.
She is absolutely gobsmacked. Because she's been putting off going to see him. Now that's gone. And it's in the middle of everything else that's burning down around her. But for him to just drop that on her like that, she breathed, or if she breathed, it would steal her breath. Standing there just... This night can't get any worse, I think. And she heads towards to go get in the van to take the prostitutes back to wherever they need to go. But I know a character, we were waiting for whoever Miriam called to have somebody show up. So are they still on their way?
Only one way to find out. And speaking of waiting, Miriam's doling out bits and bites of food to the rats that are there, and they're making their way back into the walls and back where they came to take the food back to the colony. It's one of those few rare things. You know that they're tasting the juices and taking the seasonings and having all sorts of mouth pleasures from the food, but they're taking the bulk of the food back to the colony. They're thinking of the colony first and foremost, not themselves. It's an interesting thing, especially being as Miriam's not sure how she knows it, But the animal that is closest to mankind in regards to communities and how they operate are rats. Yet this colony of rats is acting extraordinarily altruistic. None of the I gotta get mine first. None of the I'm gonna worry about me. They're taking the bits and bobs and pieces off the plate back to the colony. It's an interesting thing to notice how they consider the home versus the singular, first and foremost. It's an interesting thing. It's something that sits there on the tip of her mental tongue. She looks over her shoulder to see Lolly standing over the space where the phone was, looking as if she's attempting to figure out the secrets of the universe.
Something interesting over there?
There's something interesting everywhere.
Fair enough. Should probably go do damage control. You coming?
Coming where?
To do damage control?
Is the damage real?
The stuff back here is definitely real. And we have some humans out there that seem to be oblivious.
Okay.
Excellent.
Time is a wonder, and how we connect with it is equally standardized and personal. What would take a skilled artist an hour and a half to do, an amateur could do it in 3 or 4 minutes. It won't be as well received, it won't have as much attention or skill, but time is effectively relative. And so as everyone begins to move from this space to try to figure out the remainder of their existence for this night, as Lucio racks his brain and tries to decide which source, which subject he's going to reach out to, because a religious kindred is a rarity, and a religious Nosferatu even more so. He knows Martin has St. Stanislaus as his meeting place, but he operates out of a bar. His secret sanctorum, the place where he likes to go, and those closest to him are able to meet him, is in the church, but he's just worshipful. He's not religious. He's not. It's a place of calm for him. It's not a place where he ponders the weight of his ever-living soul, his everlasting soul. No, but a religious kindred, a religious Nosferatu, who is so passionate in their beliefs that they would send a unit of rats to kill the coteries protector. It's got to be a short list. It's got to be a very short list somewhere out there in the night, somewhere out there in the world. The question is Lucio going to go find it? Is going to use his sources to do so? He's going to reach out to Martin. Is he going to reach out to Juanica? Is he going to reach out to the professor himself?
I'll probably reach out to Martin, because the last time he spoke with Juanica, it was not a pleasant experience for either of them.
No, and it wasn't. Juanica's not a very pleasant individual. Juanica is worried about himself and his community of homeless, which he thinks you all poached upon when creating the shelter. He's jealously protective over his people, even to the point of having sent one of his agents into the shelter to keep an eye on you all. I wonder how he's going to take this. A murder investigation with clues pointing directly to the shelter. clues pointing directly to the community the shelter tends to. The homeless, the outsiders. You all are bringing threats to his domain. And in consideration of all of the many factors as you prepare to head to the parking garage, you and Tasha somehow falling into lockstep as she has a key in hand to get one of the vans to get the girls, to drive out of the parking garage to the front, get the girls loaded up, and get them back to, unfortunately, their stroll or their neighborhood or wherever it is that they're going. An entourage of 2 vehicles pull up. A nice old square-bodied Lincoln Continental, driven by a strangely athletic, portly man with thinning black hair, glasses, a well-cut Italian-styled suit from the mid-2000s. It's a couple of seasons out of date, but it's classically cut, so it is the epitome of an Italian 3-piece, tailored and fitted. None of the uber tightness around the thighs is made to move and breathe. His pockets square, firmly, neatly folded, matching the pale, creamy blue of his shirt. Out of the other vehicle, 3 large men and 2 large women step out, flanking him as if they are F-16s and falling into a fighter program. A wing is what they call it. They begin moving toward the front door, where there is no attendant. There's no one to screen your callers. There's no one to screen who enters and exits. And they make all due use of it by simply strolling in as if they own the place. Mr. Gabriel has arrived, and a small ripple of attention makes its way up and down the community. The word is spread that someone influential has arrived. And on that note, I'd like to thank you all for a lovely episode. And I'll see you guys next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, all.